Welcome to the Thrivewith OMU Podcast, where each week I'll chat with an amazing entrepreneur on their growth journey. They'll be sharing this with us to help and encourage us to take that bold step. Hello, people. It's another Friday, and I have with me Laura Wallace. Laura is an alignment coach, and she's going to tell us a lot about what being an alignment coach entails. And I'm sure that we're going to pick quite a lot from Laura today. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for being on my show today. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. It's wonderful to share the space with you.
Awesome. So what is alignment coaching?
So it's funny because I believe wholeheartedly that we teach what we most need to learn. And through my journey, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. I've owned a branding studio for over 15 years. And through this journey, I look at everything as a journey. Through this journey, I really found that I was struggling. And why I was struggling was because I was hiding a version of myself, and not hiding because I had anything to because I'm trying to be mischievous or anything, but I just didn't feel like I had permission to say what I wanted to say, to make decisions that felt right to me, to show up in the world and in my business in the way that fully felt like a full embodiment of myself. And so in every aspect of my life, it was like full blast Laura, but let's turn it down. All of Laura, let's pull it down. And I was running my business that way. I was operating in my life that way. And it got to a point where, I almost lost everything, point blank. Lost everything.
You just said something that really resonated with me. We teach what we need to learn. And If you notice, I've actually been thinking, we teach what we need to learn. I think you're right there, because when I think of it, I actually teach what I need to learn. And a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'm actually learning. And
Absolutely.
I teach from a point of experience. They're usually things that I've experienced and I'm probably still learning about. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
awesome. I'm actually still thinking.
Yeah, it is a journey. It is walking down a path. It is learning something. It's unlearning a lot of things, right? It's this whole kind of beautiful ecosystem of allowing more of yourself to come out and letting go of things that don't belong to you. And what I mean by that are thoughts, opinions, circumstances, situations that have happened along your journey in your life that you've picked up and made your own. Other people's problems, other people's opinions, other people's expectations, societal standards, right? There's all this pressure to be something other than yourself. And so alignment coaching to me is an interesting journey, because I've landed in the place where I have learned the most. And that's how to be more of myself, how to be more of myself in my business, how to be more of myself in my life. And that truly everything that you desire on the inside gets to become yours when you allow yourself to be yourself. And so alignment is nothing more than allowing yourself to be yourself. And that is one of the gutsiest, most powerful, most impactful things that you can ever do on this planet.
Do you think that sometimes these pressures were the ones that put it on ourselves?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We hear things, we see things. Think just how quickly and easily it is to get onto social media and start seeing a bunch of things. And none of those people are inherently telling you to do something different or to be something different. But in our minds, we make it about ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we put that pressure on ourselves that, I have to make more money every month. I have to travel and take perfectly curated photos. I have to buy a house and have children and get married. I have to climb the corporate ladder, right? We have to do all these things. And I'm doing this in air quotes because that's a pressure that we put on ourselves. So instead of listening to what we actually want, we listen to the influence around us and then make it about ourselves.
It's funny, you're saying so many things that is resonating with me. So you mentioned social media, and I personally believe that that's the number one cause of a lot of pressure we put on ourselves and the society puts on us generally. And then you mentioned perfectly curated pictures. That is a thing. That is a thing. Would you say that with your experience, the social media has played a huge role in disaligning people?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Because here, if I look at it from a business perspective, let's say that you're building a new program, right? A new coaching program, a new travel program, whatever it is, you're building something new for your customers, and you get online and you see what other people are doing. Now, sometimes that can be really powerful because it can inspire you, can open the door in your mind to say, ooh, that's really interesting. There's a way that I can do something like that in the program that I'm building. But more often than not, we look at those other programs, the other pricing that people have, the way people are doing things, and we're like, ooh, I'm not doing mine right. I need to do it. I need to do it that way. I need to do it this way. I need to up my pricing. I need to lower my pricing. I need to have more weeks in my program. I need less weeks in my program. And we get lost in the sea of inspiration. Inspiration turns to influence, which turns to taking us off of our own direct center, which is where we know what is best for us.
Wow, Laura, for every time you talk, you're dropping something. Inspiration turns to influence. That's really deep. And you're absolutely right. Inspiration turns to influence. Because it really should serve as a source of inspiration.
Yes.
Not necessarily influence.
Yeah, not necessarily this is how I have to do it, but rather let me be curious about what sparks my interest. Okay, why am I looking at this person's program and all of a sudden feeling like I want to redo everything that I've ever done?
Yeah, I say to people that a lot of times we make the mistake of looking at people and as a source of competition. Yes. Instead of a source of inspiration. So when we look at others, we're competing with them. And instead of looking at it in a point of view of, oh, Laura could do it, that means it's doable. Let me see how I can create or do mine. Instead, we develop a competitive spirit and we want to compete with Laura. If there's anyone we should be competing with, it's with ourselves.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think it's great to be inspired by what people are doing in the world, right? That's where a lot of growth and expansion comes from. But what I want everyone to know is when you're inspired, don't act on it immediately, because that's what most people tend to do. It's like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to like drop everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So instead of like immediately flipping the whole cart over, say, okay, let me get curious about why this inspires me. What is it about this that I like? What is it about this that lights me up? And then how can I implement something like this that is my own? How can I do it in my own way? Not a copy and paste of what they're doing. How can I do it my own way?
Absolutely. Why did you choose alignment coaching? I'm not going to give any hints to answers. But I just want to know, why did you choose alignment coaching? Did you go into other aspects and then go settle for alignment coaching, or what was your inspiration? Why alignment coaching?
Yeah, I didn't seek out to be an alignment coach, which is kind of interesting. It's not where I started, and I could have never anticipated that this is where I would be. But through my own journey of learning about how much of myself I had given away and how unhappy I was, how my finances were struggling, how I was seemingly stuck in a business that I created. My health was suffering, everything was just not great, right? And when I started to allow myself to speak up, to shift my services to things that lit me up, to change my pricing to a pricing structure that I felt worthy in, When I started to say yes to myself, I realized things actually get to be a lot easier. Business gets to be easier, clients come in easier, my health starts to improve, my finances increase. Like all of a sudden, everything just seems to get a little bit easier. I'm not fighting myself on a daily basis. I don't have to do that anymore.
Is a win-win. It really is a win-win when you're your authentic self.
Yes. There is so much time and energy spent trying to be something that you're not, that all of that time and energy doesn't get to go towards the thing that you're actually growing towards, the goals that you want, the things that you want to succeed and achieve in life. You don't have the time and energy to put your whole self towards that when you're trying to be something that you're not. Like, I don't think people realize how much energy that really takes. And so landing in the space of alignment coaching, I found so much power and impact and how it made me feel and how it impacted my life and how much easier everything got to be, that I want women around the world to know that there is another way, that you get to be yourself and be successful and be loved and be all of the things that you know that you are, but maybe too afraid to let out right now.
And love yourself more too.
Thank you.
Okay, so what were those setbacks? You've mentioned financial. Can you just describe how that period was and what exactly it was?
Yeah, so I'm pretty transparent about my financial path. It's been a rocky one. It started very, very young in a household that, money was the root of all evil. Money was scarcity. As soon as it came in the door, it went out the door. So my foundation on money has been built on very rocky roads. So I've spent a lot of my adult life undoing that and recreating a healthier relationship with money. So I just want to start. Well, honestly, I made a lot of mistakes. I repeated a lot of those things that I grew up on, and I realized, hey, this doesn't work. And my drive to succeed surpassed my desire to stay stuck in things that I already knew. So a lot of times the reason people don't change is because what they're doing, they're familiar with. I knew how to screw up my finances. I knew how to overspend. I knew how to overspend. I knew how to overcommit. I knew how to do all those things. And there was something about, I think, honestly, there was something about the rush of having to fix that made me feel like I was a savior to something. And so I stayed in that pattern for a very long time. At the worst of things, well, first, my family and I, we had to file bankruptcy. So the housing market crashed in 2007. I had a brand new business and we had a brand new baby and everything went to hell in a handbasket. And we ended up filing bankruptcy. And so at that point, when you're sitting in bankruptcy court, for anybody that's gone through this or maybe going through this, I want to empathize and let you know that you're not alone. Because when you're sitting in bankruptcy court and everyone is staring at you, it's like they are staring at your naked soul of how you have screwed up. And that's a real life moment. And it's not necessarily that you screwed up. Sometimes things just happen. We had no control over the housing market. That was out of our control, but I made it about me. And then I lived that story for a long time, for almost a decade. I lived the story that I'm a failure. And so now how, regardless of how much success I had, I sabotaged it the second it started working. Not because I didn't want it to work, but I knew how to navigate the path of it not working. And I know this sounds really like, what on the earth, like, why would you do that? But these are the patterns that people get stuck in. And so in my business, I would take on more than I could handle. Again, all these things unintentionally. I would overcommit financially. I would just do all these things that ultimately ended up self-sabotaging. And at the worst of in the business, I hadn't paid myself for 6 months. All of my paychecks, I have a picture somewhere. All of my paychecks are laying on my desk waiting. I had a team of 5 at that point. So I had 5 people on payroll. I was making sure that everyone else was paid before I was. I didn't want to let them down by having to let them go or to restructure my business. So I sacrificed my own finances to make sure that everyone else was taken care of. And what ultimately ended up happening was I failed. I almost lost everything again in my house. Payroll checks eventually started to bounce, so I wasn't able to pay those people. And then at the height of things, what cracked that egg was the pandemic. I had to get very, very, very real very, very, very quickly, because at that point I either had to let everybody go and restructure everything or lose literally everything in my life. My business, my house, my car, everything that I had built over the last, at that point, 13 years. So there was just a real turning point where I was like, I got to get real. And I need to start owning the story and healing through that and making decisions from my aligned self versus my traumatized self.
Yeah. So what were the, I'm this, I wish we had more time because it's really very interesting. And the part of overcommitting, a lot of people find themselves in situations like that. And the sad part is that a lot of people haven't quite realized that that's the problem they have. Overcommitting financially, overcommitting in terms of work for various reasons. And now listening to you, a lot of people I know that overcommit with work, I always felt, probably from the scarcity point of view, oh, I want to get more work so that I get more money. Listening to you now, I also realize that some people do that because they simply don't know how to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you, what were the major steps you took? Obviously, you've mentioned alignment, taking decisions from the point of alignment, but I'm certain there are certain steps that you took before you got to that point.
Yes. So the very first thing that I did on this path was I had to get incredibly honest and realistic about my discomfort. And what I mean by that is I just had to look and face the facts of things, take emotions off the table. We need to look at things black and white, which at that point meant looking at my finances, looking at what was working, what was not working, what was adding to my energy and lifting me up, what was draining my energy, who was lifting me up, who was draining my energy.
Who is also very important. We often ignore that.
Yes, that is a huge portion of it. So I just had to get very black and white about what was working and what wasn't. And then start making intentional decisions versus decisions on the whim based off of how I was feeling or what I was trying to rescue. And so with everything that I do now, I feel into it. Before I decide, I feel into it. So first and foremost, get very real with where you are and what's going on. And if you lean into, so this is a statement that always gets people going. The thing that you resist the most is often the thing that you desire the most.
Take it again.
The thing that you resist the most is often the thing that you desire the most. And so I was craving freedom, flexibility, financial stability. I wanted to be seen and I wanted to be heard. And I sabotaged every one of those, every aspect of it. And so once you get...
So my listeners, sorry to interrupt you, my listeners would be wondering, how did you crave financial stability, freedom, and the need to be heard? And you were working, you were making money, which is supposedly financial stability. You were obviously visible for you to be able to get clients. How then at what point, how did you sabotage yourself?
Yeah, so I was doing all those things based off of what I felt that I should do instead of what I wanted to do. So just because you're making money doesn't mean that it feels great. Mm-hmm. So everything carries an energy. And so the second step after getting very real is look at what you're resisting, because that's going to tell you a whole lot about what it is that you actually desire. And when you can recognize what you actually desire, then it's going to start popping up in your life on a regular basis.
So for you, what were you resisting?
I honestly was resisting being seen and heard.
Okay, so I'm going to sound like I mean, I wish I had other people here to ask questions. I'm definitely going to get you back when I do one of the panels. So how were you resisting making money and you were making money at the same time?
Yes, I love this question. So yes, my business was making money. I was at the height of things able to pay 5 employees. I had an office, I had my house. Yeah, I'm making money. So, but I'm resisting making money at the same time, which is it's an interesting crossroads, right? So I was resisting money by taking on too many clients for the wrong reasons and undercharging. So undercharging was a huge portion of resistance. So I was making money, but not nearly what I could have been.
Okay.
So I was undercharging. When I would get the money, I would spend it the second it was here, because that's what I was taught as a child. As soon as it comes in the door, it needs to leave. And so that often looked like buying big lunches for everybody in the office, or taking on an extra monthly recurring expense in the business, or buying something for my house, or doing so. Like, I didn't feel safe enough to keep it. So I let it go. So even when it was coming in, it was going right out the door. And so I was hiding behind the money. I was hiding behind the fact that money gets to stay, and it's safe to keep it. It's safe to use it on things that add value in your life, and I don't have to expend it the second it comes into the door. So I was resisting money and resisting financial stability by spending all of it, by getting rid of it the second that it came in the door.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. So what was another step?
Yes. So we covered getting very realistic about where you
Yeah.
currently are. We talked about resistance, looking at what you're resisting, and that's going to uncover what it is that you actually want. And then at that point, I want you to be radically aware of how you're showing up in everything. Just start to notice, right? Like, I think a lot of times people think that they have to change their whole lives overnight, right? We got to sell the house. We got to move across the country. We got to cut off all of our hair. We got to lose 100 pounds. We got to divorce the spouse. We got to, okay, if any of those things work for you, then fine. That's great. But really, these shifts are in the small moments. And so just start noticing when your body is saying something to you, but you choose to say no to it. You choose to say yes to someone else in front of your own. And so sometimes that looks like when you're working with a client and they ask if there's a discount, and your body's like, we don't discount. And you're like, oh yes, I will absolutely discount this for you because I want you as a client. That is sabotaging. Listen to your body and say, no, I don't, and here's the reasons why, or however you want to handle it. Or when you're getting dressed in the morning, look, so much of ourselves is in our self-expression. And when you're like, I want to wear this fun new outfit today, I'm looking at it in the mirror and like, I can see myself smiling and I'm excited about this. And then the brain kicks in. What are they going to think? What's everyone going to say when I walk out this door? I don't normally dress like this, so that's going to make people feel weird. Like, whatever mental chatter is happening in your brain, start recognizing that. And if you can recognize the mental chatter in your brain, that gives you the power to shift it in that moment, to say, I am more worried about everyone else than I am my own happiness right now. So let me just choose to wear this outfit out today. And whatever their opinion is belongs to them. It means nothing about me. So recognizing the mental chatter and what you're saying to yourself gives you so much power to be able to shift it in the moment. And when you start shifting in little moments like that, you build your confidence. When you build your confidence, you build your trust. When you build your trust, you become a non-negotiable, baby. You become a non-negotiable.
That's amazing. I like the journey, and I also like the fact that you pointed out that it's not automatic. Like I say to people, I mean, these are habits and feelings and thoughts and that you've had for years. You're not going to expect it to go away in a second or just after one session with Laura.
Yep. That's the thing. It is a habit. You've mastered it.
Absolutely.
You've mastered hiding. You've mastered listening to other people. You've mastered pleasing other people. You've mastered, whatever it is that's going on in your life, you know how to handle that. Absolutely. And so what we're creating is a new, healthier habit that helps you be more of yourself, to feel more of yourself, which allows you to have everything that you keep thinking about that you want.
Awesome. That's very interesting. And so, I keep saying it, that we never look anything like what we've been through, because looking at you, there's no way I'm going to think that you've passed through all this.
I think that we shine differently when we're in alignment.
Yes.
If you see those people and you're just like, man, I feel good when I'm around them. Like they seemingly have all their shit together, like all this stuff. Like it's because they kept going.
Absolutely.
They kept going. They didn't give up. And so you shine differently when you're in alignment because you're happier. Your soul is happier.
I'm so happy you didn't give up.
Thanks.
Now,
Me too. I'm happy because I didn't give up for myself first, because I didn't give up on me. For my family second, because they're the front line, they need me the most. But also because now I get to do this work. And I get to guide other women around the world to help embody who they naturally are, and shine from the inside out. So it's a multifaceted amazingness.
Awesome. Oh, Laura, it's been an amazing time talking to you, and I'm sure that everyone that listens to this is certainly going to want to listen to you again or reach out to you. Thank you so much. Do you have any parting words for the listeners? I'm sure they would mind hearing something from you.
Absolutely. I want you to know that you are allowed to be yourself.
Yes.
You are taught to be everything other than who you are, but you know who you are. When you're in the car singing full blast your favorite song, or you're dancing while you're making dinner in your kitchen, or something amazing happens in your business and you get up and you do a little happy dance, you know who you are. And so I want you to know that you're allowed to be that person when other people are around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. I thoroughly enjoyed this session with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I adore your energy, and thank you for what you're doing. And I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Hey, to all you listeners, if you want to see Laura's beautiful face, you can go and subscribe and watch her on the YouTube channel. Otherwise, download the podcast and listen to Laura, and don't forget to share. Thank you. See you next Friday. I'm out. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Thrive with OMU Podcast. This is your host, Omu Obilo.